when you share the gospel, is there a judgment here?
Oh, definitely.
There is a judgment. Why?
Why? Because, like, not to be rude, but like people without Jesus, they're
going to hell. I'm not pulling punches. You guys gotta understand. It's not like, well, maybe after he comes, he'll give him 3 more chances.
He's not a genie. He's God.
Hello?
He does what he wishes.
And didn't he give us a chance? He didn't have to give us a chance. After the very first sin, Adam and Eve, very first sin, is the first prophecy of Christ.
What?
Very first sin. Genesis 3:15, I will put enmity between you and her offspring. By the way, a little side note. If you read the Douay version, the Catholic version of the Bible, I will put enmity between you and her offspring, and she will crush your head. Now that has to deal with Mary, the deification of Mary. You got these questions. It is a judgmental thing. Because guys, if I tell you that I'd like to tell you about my Jesus, and we're going to talk about how we do that, I would like to work on that. I'd like to have you think about what are different opportunities you can do that. Because until you're ready, until you have those, you're going to find out. The more you prepare for that, He's going to drop it in your lap. When I pray for people, when I go to restaurants, it's hilarious how that works out. Can I pray for you? Well, first some people are like, no. And then you still tip well, by the way. If you ever ask, don't forget, you've got to tip well. I don't care if you're a kid. I don't care nothing. If you don't work very much and don't have many hours, do not be the cheapskate and you just ask to pray. Because God blesses us too highly to do that. But it's a very interesting thing. I've had people come up and say, how come you're happy? You'd be amazed at how many openings, just by living Him, how many openings you get. But the point is, you also got to be ready. It says in 1 Peter 3:8, it says, always be prepared to give a reason for the hope that you have. How come you're happy? This world sucks. How many of you guys know people that are just sad all the time? I mean, and they're like just down. Listen, if you live in a world of no hope, that's what you get.
You better be the hope.
You gotta be the hope. You know, dude, you really want to get hit by this ball. That's why when you asked me, Seth, and that's why I avoided your answer, what's the goal of the game? To bring everybody in the kingdom. I could answer that way. But dude, the real goal of the game is for people to come to Christ. And so when you look at this thing, it's and that's why I don't tell them. I watch people run because guess what? Without Christ, and you know a lot of kids don't go to church, don't you? Their families don't go. You know what's interesting and really, really sad? When I was your age, 70% of the people my age went to church and believed in Christ. 15% of the people your age believe in Christ. In basically 2 generations, when you look at the years, about 2 generations, we've gone from 65 to 70%, and the one before this was higher. And now you're down to 15% of people saying, nah. Well, shame on the church. We got the best secret, and it's not supposed to be. That's my point. It's not supposed to be a secret. Hello, McFly. All right. Point is this. We got the best thing ever. We got joy when a lot of people don't. I'm not saying I have great days every day. You know, I'm such a married man. I really am. And when I'm around that brunette I'm living with, well, not right now. And I'm not talking about the dog. She's a brunette too. But when I'm around that woman, when my wife smiles at me, I get goose pimples.
You call them that too?
Huh?
You call them that too?
I call them goose pimples, but in church you get to call them glory bumps. I like that one. I got glory bumps. Hello. Anyway. Goose pimples. I mean, she smiles at me. It's not even fair. And when she laughs, Weekend at Ease. She's hilarious. I love that woman. By the way, I want you guys to know that kind of relationship. You know, I pray. And when you guys see her and see us together, it's a rip. Now, she's mostly has to be saddled with me. I think it was something she must have done in a past life that I don't believe in. But anyway, most people come up and say, I'm so sorry to her. Okay, looking at your sheet, guys, there's some more whats. And I want you to think about this. What really is the worst thing that could happen? They could stop being your friend. In general, they could. That's probably the worst you're going to get here. And again, are they worth it?
Yes.
And then I want you to think about that. Are they worth missing their friendship? Second, what happens if you don't share your faith? Here's something that I think we're all going to hear when we get to heaven. At the very end, it says, 2 books are open. When it's done and we go and it's time and heaven, the current heaven and hell, everybody will come out of that and their books will be open and they're going to read it. And here's what I think is going to be in our books. You know that girl you met in 2nd grade? You should have shared your faith. See, that's the thing I'm scared to death of. Not that it's going to throw me into hell. I know I'm saved. I'm saved by grace. But how many chances do we get to win someone to Christ? Now, can you save them? Can
No.
you?
No.
None of us can. You know, that was the hardest lesson, and I'm telling you this because I know you have ideas about going into service in certain aspects, and I know you do too. But here's the deal. Can you save anybody? No, you couldn't even save you. Only Christ could do that. So the reality is, guys, if you share your faith and they say no, that's their shot. And here's the other reality. Guess what? The national average is it takes 7.5 times of someone to hear the gospel before they accept it.
Really high.
I don't know how you do the halftime. Have you heard about, you're going to say Jesus, right? You know, I don't know about that halfway. But 7.5 times before somebody accepts Christ.
Kind of reminds me like the average amount of children per household is 2.5.
And it's really hard just to buy pants. But what I'm saying is,
Left half, not the top. Sorry.
that's true.
It's still
I knew a guy who didn't have his right leg, and the other guy that had same size foot didn't have his left leg. They saved a lot of money. Anyway, but buying shoes. Sorry.
What happened
Not
during
pants.
marching band? I only ever got half of my uniform. I say, hey, I got half my uniform. Which half? Left half. Bye. They
That
get
was
mad at
really
me.
sad because when he turned around and went the other way, he was in his skivvies. And I saw it. I saw the show.
Not quite.
Sorry. Anyway.
Were they the pink flowered ones?
That was the bad ones. It was the bad ones. So, sorry. Worst thing you can do, what happens if you don't share your faith? It doesn't count as one. Guys, if it takes 7.5 on average and you shared your faith with somebody, that's one less that they got on the list. And then somebody else shares their faith. And somebody else shares their faith. And you don't know if you're going to be the 7th. Or the 8th.
Or the half.
Or the one.
Or the 1. And you know what? It doesn't. That's an average. So, what really is our responsibility here? Guys, our responsibility is always be prepared to give a reason for the hope you have. That's your responsibility. Why? Because God opens doors. It's amazing. It is amazing how many doors He opens when you're just ready to share it. And you know what? This room could be so full of kids that we have to build another building just for the youth.
That would be awesome.
Would that be so amazing?
Never has to see them.
What is your real responsibility here? Guys, your responsibility is be ready to be used by Him and have a reason for the hope you have. That's it. You can't save anybody. If you share your faith and they say no, is that your job?
Yeah.
No. To share your faith is your job. Whether they say yes or no is not your job. If they say yes or no, they get to choose. And listen, I'd rather, at the end, when I'm done and they open the book and they say, did you get it? Did you share it? You know, you missed it. Oh, I don't want to miss it. First off, I think it's a rip. And some of the people that used to irritate the absolute snot out of me in high school, it was so funny in our 10th anniversary, our 10th reunion in high school. I had guys come up. Yeah, because 10 years into it, and it took 10 years to get it eventually. No, it was our 20th anniversary. 20th anniversary. I wasn't in the ministry at 10. 20th anniversary. And they're talking to me like, these guys wouldn't even talk to me in high school. Now I'm a pastor, of course, good looking and witty.
It's humble.
And humble. And they would come up and talk to me because I represented who? And see, that's the coolest thing is, guys, you are Christ. And the church, I mean, you're Christ to the world. He's in you.
That's awesome.
He's in you. Which also means, watch what you're doing with your witness. I mean, I've had people be very surprised I was a pastor. Not because I was drunk on the floor and cussing. Just because I was funny. Because they have this idea that, okay, everybody, just get ready to sing in number 743. I know no one here knows it, but it's a good one unto the Lord. I know it's in Old English, and some of it's German. But we will sing it, and I think you'll be uplifted. You know, and that's what they think a pastor is.
We have a pastor like that.
Did you? And I'm not saying that's bad, because some pastors are like that. But you can see how serious Merle is all the time. He's hilarious. The whole hee-haw thing was a rip.
Oh, jeez.
Was that funny?
Just no, it wasn't.
Oh, you missed it. Well, yeah.
I was there.
You're too young. It was funny because I grew up in hee-haw.
Yeah.
Salute!
Well, plus, if you didn't know Jordan and Marcia, then
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah.
I just thought he was hilarious. Yeah, Merle's not your normal pastor either.
Yeah, no.
No.
Which is fine. And that's why I love the church that grew up with him. I absolutely love the church that grew up with him because that's the way I am. I'm not normal. So I've had people come up and say, you're a pastor? And so I've learned to live with that because that's mostly just because they don't expect it. I love the fact that, you know, you can have fun. I had guys in my high school that invite me to all the parties. I never drank, had the most fun, and they just never did it. So anyway, now this last one, I want you to take these sheets home and use this. But when I say people that you know that don't know Christ, who comes to mind? And I mean, and if there's anybody on your list you would like me to put on my prayer list, I'll help pray with you. All of us will help pray with you. And we can create a list if you want to, and just use first names if you want to, because God knows the last name. And the reality is, if you know some people in your life, I was going to tell you though, there's people in my life that irritated me in high school that now are dear, dear, dear Christian brothers and sisters.